How's it going, robot f***ers? HellTongue has officially competed in its third and largest tournament yet, taking the 7-hour drive all the way down to LA to compete at SCAR. I may have only had a month to completely redesign my robot again, but it was a great month. I certainly had a great time breaking more shit. Although version 2 fixed many of version 1's problems, it still had numerous things that I could improve, and even now, after the tournament, I've encountered many problems with version 3 as well. Building and improving your first robot from scratch is almost like a game of whack-a-mole, fixing problems of varying severity just to uncover more of them. Let's face it, HellTongue version 3 isn't perfect. I doubt that I'd be even able to make HellTongue close to perfect without creating an entirely different bot. However, HellTongue's performance has vastly improved from previous versions, and even though I didn't do quite as well in this tournament as previous ones, I still had a really good time, and I had a very notable fight that I am eager to show you. Okay, before I go into the changes I made to HellTongue, I need to address something. On my last video, I got a bunch of comments that said that the problems I've been having with the dual brushless ESCs here were almost certainly user error. They said that they have been able to use them on their bots just fine. At the time of making the video, I wasn't entirely sure why I kept breaking these boards, which is why I had a feeling that there's something that might have been wrong with them, which is why I talked about them so negatively. But now, after another month of experience, I can safely tell you that you're right, it was almost certainly user error. In fact, I have actually compiled a list of all the things I have done wrong. Are you ready? Here we go. I used bad quality solder. I used a bad quality soldering iron. I used too much heat. I used too little heat. I kept resoldering things over and over. I allowed solder to touch the pins on the MOSFETs. I didn't start using flux until like 2 weeks ago because I'm lazy. I'm just ass at soldering in general. I was too rough with the boards and broke pieces off. I short-circuited things on accident. I short-circuited things on purpose. I didn't put a capacitor on my weapon ESC. I used a shitty weapon ESC in general. I ran with a damaged drive motor. I practiced with my robot for too long and wore out the boards. I ran the red wire through the switch instead of the black wire, causing sparking. And there might have been 2 boards that have arrived with malfunction, but I'm not really sure, and it just probably haven't figured out what I've done wrong yet. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about the design. Although a lot has changed, a lot has stayed the same as well. Version 3 reuses the weapons, forks, side forks, wedges, motors, and battery from version 2. As for what has changed, probably the most significant change is that I replaced the neoprene foam wheels for my own cast urethane wheels of the same size. These wheels have significantly more grip than the foam ones and are treaded, increasing grip even more. Here is the wheel on its own. Its locking mechanism consists of a shaft collar on one side to prevent side-to-side movement, and a compliant grip on the other to prevent sliding on the axle. I originally tried to make the wheels with only a compliant grip, but that didn't work super well. Also, the wheels are heavy. Their huge size may make HellTongue have some of the best speed and traction for any 2-wheeled bot, but at the cost of weighing more than 80 grams together. I could probably make them weigh less by reducing the amount of urethane I use, as I underestimated its durability. But for now, I had to compensate by reducing the weight of the chassis. Thankfully, the other change I made to the drive did most of this for me. In order to fix the self-inversion problems once and for all, I completely removed most of the back armor. The wheels are now protected by compliant side armor that bends out of the way so the wheels can be installed. The back also now has these spikes that are there just to provide a little more distance between a weapon and the internals of the robot. I was a little afraid of the back armor being too weak, as it now has almost no airbag, but it worked just fine. These changes, along with improved ear design, vastly improved this robot's ability to self-right. It is so good I don't even have to turn on my weapon to do so. I also tried adding some magnets for some downforce, but the ones I got were a little weak. I'm going to use stronger ones in the future. As for the internals, I replaced the Just Cuz weapon ESC for an 80 amp Vortex one, with a capacitor on it this time. It functions spectacularly well, and even has BEC, which is useful because I now use 2 individual drive ESCs instead of the dual one. When I originally ordered them, I was accidentally sent 3 of the dual ones instead of the individual ones. I could have returned them, but I figured that I have some more experience now, and I got some advice. Maybe I'd be able to make them work this time. Nope, broke all 3 of them. Even bought a 4th one, and I broke that one too, bringing the total number of broken boards to 9, which is just great. Thankfully, I found a person that might be able to fix some of them. I'll make sure to keep you updated on that.
When I bought the fourth board, I also added individual ESCs to it just in case. These ones allow for a much larger margin of error while soldering. I was able to install them correctly first try, and they worked flawlessly for the duration of the tournament. As for the final big change, I replaced the shatter-prone polycarbonate top plate for an impact-resistant Tegris plate. I was a little concerned about how thin it was, but it took some pretty heavy hits during the tournament, and it never did break, only splinter and bend. Other than that, the chassis is now 95A TPU, I split the wheelie bar in two to make it harder to hit, and there's a small carbon fiber plate to hold the magnets in place. Oh, and I also have good quality stickers again. You can stop sending me sticker ads about YouTube. I f***ing know that's an option. Please f***ing stop. And that's all that's new with version 3.
Because I only had 1 month to get my bot ready, and because I kept breaking shit often, I had even less time to practice my robot than my first 2 tournaments. I could probably count the number of times I drove this thing before Fight Day on one hand. Because of this, I didn't build a battle box like I said I would, but I didn't use it anyway, so I didn't need to do that. What I did do was connect my controller to a BattleBot simulator on my computer and practice that way. But before I knew it, I was in LA preparing my bot for the fight of its life. But before that, let's thank some more people. I'm of course sponsored by the Kinship Center, a youth group for neurodivergent people. Its main priority is getting people to socialize and provides a welcoming environment for that. If you or someone you know could get benefit from that, I'd recommend you checking it out. I'd also like to thank the Repeat Robotics Discord server for giving me advice on how to do shit. And I'd also like to thank the SCAR Discord server for giving me a platform to talk about my robot in front of like-minded people. I have a channel there, go check it out. And without further ado, it's fighting time.
Oh, Venator getting a big hit, smacking HellTongue around.
The Orange County Maker Faire thankfully had much more comfortable weather than my last tournament. It also had a massive canopy to protect us from the sun, which was super helpful. The bots in this tournament were even scarier than the ones I fought in the last tournament. I was really afraid of who I was going to fight. I showed up on my first day, ready to face my opponent, and my opponent was nothing! There weren't enough bots to fill up the whole bracket in the tournament, and because of that, there were some empty spaces, and I was happy to be paired with one of those spaces. However, the side effect of this was me not being able to do a single fight on the first day. There were over 100 robots at the event, and because of that, they were only able to do 1 round of beat-aways. And because of that, I wasn't able to compete the first day. I was so pissed. Okay, it's now the second day. Let's see who my first opponent is. You've got to be f***ing kidding me.
This is Venator, a 4-wheeled vertical spinner very similar to HellTongue. I could actually probably count the differences between these 2 bots with my hands. However, what was important is that Venator had 4 wheels, larger range, and a builder with 15 years of experience. Venator is so good that it actually won first place in the NorCal Summer Smash, and is currently ranked 12 in the world for beat-away. I may have had no idea what my opponent was thinking before the fight, but I was sure not optimistic about it. I placed my bot in the arena, drove to my corner, and waited anxiously. The referee counted down, and then we started driving. I started with zipping around the arena, trying to get a good angle. But when that failed, I just rammed into him head on. We then got into the first of many pushing matches. HellTongue was actually able to hold its own despite being pushed. In fact, in its current state, HellTongue's drive is able to overpower Venator, allowing me to pin him on the wall. Most beat-aways use the Repeat 2206 motors for their drive. HellTongue, however, uses the more powerful and heavy 2207 motors for its drive instead. And also, despite only having 2 wheels, those wheels are so big that they end up having superior grip to Venator's 4 anyway. Venator then spun up his weapon faster, hoping to land a heavy hit, while I did my best to keep my front pointed towards the enemy. Venator was able to hit my forks, but was unable to get the leverage to flip me over for now. By this point, Venator knew that it wouldn't be able to overpower my robot in a pushing match. He started to back up whenever we locked forks to try to get a better angle, but I was able to pursue him, preventing him from turning out of the way before I caught up with him again. I was then able to get another pin on Venator, but then Venator got a good hit on me, flipping me and ripping off my side fork. With my bot now vulnerable, Venator used the opportunity to rush my bot. He hit my Tiger's plate, hanging me on the wall. Then, he hit my exposed underside, vaporizing one of my magnets. And finally, he got a good hit on my back armor, dragging my bot across the spinner, causing it to hit my weapon and send me flying. I was panicking at this point. I tried to invert my robot without my weapon, but that failed. I then turned on the weapon to flip me back over, which worked, but left my backsides exposed. Thankfully, Venator missed, and I was able to recover and face Venator again. I then started getting some hits on Venator myself, knocking him over. I then rammed him again, shoving him all the way to the wall and pinning him. Because of this, Venator got stuck on a piece of debris, and I used this opportunity to get a big hit on him. After struggling to recover from that hit, I rushed him again. He tried to face me, but the gyroscopic force of his weapon lifted him up and allowed me to get under him.
By this point, Venator was really on the defensive. Much of what remained of the fight was him backing up and me pursuing him. Venator was almost able to get several angles on me, but I was able to prevent this from happening each time. More pushing matches ensued, with me usually winning them. But then, with 15 seconds left on the clock, a rather unfortunately placed hit caused me to disable Venator's weapon. A significant advantage for me, but before I was able to use it, the match was over.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's the match. We take this
The
to
match
a
went
judge's
better
decision.
than I expected, but now it all came down to a judge's
Can we
decision.
get a function check? Do you have a weapon? Nope, no weapon. All right. We have a unanimous judge's decision for your winner, HellTongue.
My reaction after the match showed exactly how I felt. Venator wasn't damaged, the driver wasn't ill. My win was purely due to my skill as an engineer and a driver. My win against Venator will most likely remain my proudest fight for quite some time. HellTongue did not come out of the fight unscathed. The shoulder bolt that was screwed into the upright came loose. I forgot to bring spare uprights, so I was afraid that the threads had pulled through. Thankfully, the bolt simply unscrewed itself, so it was an easy fix. The fight with Venator was the highlight of the tournament for me.
Oh my god.
However, there were 2 other fights in this tournament, so let's talk about those. My next fight was to be a rematch against Nightlight. Nightlight is a forked undercutter that is very hard to counter unless you're horizontal yourself. Thankfully this time, I knew what to expect from her, and was successfully able to protect HellTongue from spawning until both of our robots were on the loading table, which was good because I actually came up with a special configuration just for her. The idea was to have a small wedge that could fit in between Nightlight's forks and have side panels that were out of reach of her forks, so Nightlight couldn't lift me up. A good idea in theory. In practice, however, you'll see.
Also, this fight and the next fight weren't recorded by Scar for some reason, so you'll just have to enjoy the phone angle. The match started and Nightlight immediately tried to flank me. I was able to prevent this from happening, but once Nightlight started hitting my wedge, it suddenly lifted up, allowing Nightlight to get under me and launch me across the box. The hit revealed the wedge's subpar construction when one of the side plates was ripped off. Because of this, I started to zip around the box again, trying to get a good angle. I eventually thought I found one, but Nightlight pivoted, getting under my wedge again, ripping off the other side plate and pushing me against the wall, pinning me. After being released, I tried to use my wedge again. It was able to survive a head-on hit, but still launched me back. I then tried again to get around her, but it failed, and during our next head-on-head encounter, her hits once again lifted up my wedge and launched me. I never hard-mounted the wedge, which is probably why this happened. It then happened a third time, causing me to sputter around the arena. HellTongue may have had excellent recovery, but it couldn't save me from a driving error. I then drove directly into Nightlight's weapon. This ripped off one of the screws holding the wedge in, but more critically, it ripped one of my uprights out of place, causing it to high center me. This happened because in order to be flush with the uprights, there is only a very thin piece of plastic preventing the shoulder bolt from pulling through. Also rather unfortunately, I intentionally didn't screw in one of the bolts that held the upright in place to make the battery easier to install. However, when no longer held in place by the shoulder bolt, the single bolt allowed the upright to pivot, eventually coming to rest under my bot, causing the high center. With HellTongue unable to move effectively, Nightlight got another pin on me, stranding me on the wall. There wasn't really much I could do at this point, and so I tapped out.
Oh man, I think you're out.
Even though the front wedge stayed on for the duration of the match, it was completely thrashed afterwards. I actually used the wrong grade of titanium for it. As for the uprights, despite being damaged, weren't destroyed, so although I wouldn't have had I brought extras, I got to reuse them. I also replaced the chassis, just in case, as it also got beat up. Thankfully, HellTongue version 3 is just as easy to repair as version 2. My next fight wasn't going to be a rematch, but it was a fight very similar to one I had in the past. Zephyr, the OG wide vert, able to outrange almost anyone it fought. Also, I just realized as I'm writing the script, but I came down all the way to Southern California, only to end up fighting NorCal robots, like why even bother? I actually came up with a configuration for this bot too. I took inspiration from my fight with percussive maintenance to make this. The forks are very long and tall, with the idea being a more optimized way to tip Zephyr over before it could reach me, similar to how I won the percussive maintenance fight. However, there was a small issue with my plan though, and that was that it didn't f***ing work!
Lining up my robot perfectly in between Zephyr's forks was a lot harder than I thought it would be. Most of the time, I came at him at an angle, either riding up his forks or allowing him to hit mine. The thin, poor quality titanium didn't hold up so well either. Zephyr was quickly able to pin me, and despite me getting under him and tipping him one time, Zephyr was able to back up, find a different angle, and hit my forks again, flipping me. Another problem with this configuration is because they are so long, the same lever effect that I used against percussive maintenance was now being used against me. We went head to head again, but Zephyr was able to hit my forks consistently, breaking my contact with the ground and allowing him to push me into the wall, and once he reached the wall, he landed an absolutely devastating blow on my weapon. The hit was so hard that it bent my weapon uprights backwards, causing my weapon to hit my own chassis where the power switch lay. My own weapon hit my own power switch, severing the wire and killing my robot. I wanted to wait for the countdown, but Zephyr just kept on hitting me for some reason, so I tapped out.
Not only did that massive hit knock me out of the tournament, it also destroyed my hub motor. Like, you cannot use this. Like, this is total. Certainly frustrating, but that's just a part of the sport. So yeah, that's how HellTongue did at Scar. Despite me only winning one fight, because I was able to skip around, I finished in the top third with a modest 9th place. I probably could have done better, but I did get quite unlucky with my matchups. At least I did get that freebie, and that glorious victory against Venator that I believe justifies my 9th place finish, despite me only winning once. Do you believe that I deserve 9th place? Let me know in the comments. Also, doesn't matter how well you do in a tournament, every fight reveals more about what can be done to improve your robot. Some of the things I'll be doing is definitely screwing in the missing bolt from now on. I'm also probably going to increase the size of the carbon fiber bar so it covers the entire bottom of the robot to prevent it from flexing. But just to be safe, I will also move my power switch to a different position and make the weapon hole a little bit bigger. I'll also be doing several rate reduction measures so that I don't have to worry about that as much. And finally, I'll make sure to practice more. As has been proven many times before, it's not the robot you got, it's how you drive it. There's also a few other things that I want to get fixed, but I can't right now. I'll probably make an entirely different plot in the future to fix those. As for my next competition, I'm either going to go to EVAC or the Scar Halloween event. Probably EVAC because apparently the plane tickets are non-refundable. Thank you guys so much for watching my video, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the year brings for HellTongue.